You're listening to the weekly parsha podcast, recorded with Hashem's never-ending assistance in Ramat Beit Shemesh Israel 5776, 2016. Before I begin speaking about the parsha, I just want to share with you that at the end of this podcast, I'm going to offer you an opportunity to be involved with a project that I have been involved with for numerous years. It's finally coming to a close, and it is my sefer, my book, which is at the final stages of proofreading and copy editing. And within a few months, this book is going to be printed in Mir Hashem with God's help, and it's going to be on the shelves. It's a book on personal growth. It's entitled Perfectly Imperfect, Breaking Out of the Ordinary and Striving for Greatness. So watch out for the end of the podcast when I'll speak more about how you can get involved in being part of the release of this exciting and momentous book. Now I'd like to share with you a thought on the parsha, as always, and we're going to speak about Parshas Bamidbar, which is the parsha that's being read outside of Israel this week. In chapter 2, verse 1, Perek Beis Pasuk Aleph, it says, Vayidaber Hashem al Moshe bel Aharon Lamor, God says to Moses and Aaron. Verse 2, Ish al digloi ba'oisos leveis avosim, each person shall be by his flag with signs according to the house of their fathers, Yachanu b'nei Israel, which is how the people of Israel are going to encamp. Mineged saviv la'oel moed yachanu. And they're going to encamp in a formation surrounding the Oil Moed, surrounding the Mishkan, the tabernacle where God's divine presence rests. I'd like to share with you a beautiful piece from the Rabbeinu Bachai. It's really worth seeing inside. It's on this verse in the beginning of chapter 2, verse 2, and he speaks at length. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but he speaks at length about the concept of the Degalim, the concept of the flags. What were these flags? Each and every one of the Shvatim, each of the tribes had their own special flag. It was a different color, had a different image on the flag, and each one had to do with its special koach, the special ability of that specific tribe, which was attributed to that tribe, usually by Yaakov Avinu, by Jacob, and the blessings that he gave all of his 12 sons. So I'd like to read to you the beginning, the first small piece inside. It says like this, Ish al diglei ba'oisos, each person was by the flag which was designated to him with signs. Milashon oisos hashamayim. What does it mean, ba'oisos, with signs? So Rabbeinu Bachai says that it's referring to the signs of the heavens. Vehem simonin sheyu b'chol degel v'degel. These are the symbols that were on each and every one of these flags. Haya b'degel Ruvain suras Adam. On the flag of Ruvain was the first, he was the Bechor. There was a picture of a man, of Adam. Remez ledudaim, which was a hint to the special dudaim, was a kind of plant which he had found and he gave to his mother Leah. It's a whole story in Genesis that speaks about it, but it looks like the shape of a human being. So that was the tzura, that was the picture which was on his flag. V'hayabedegel Yehuda tzuras Aryeh. On the flag of Judah, there was a picture of a lion. Because we find that Jacob compared him to a lion cub. And on the flag of Ephraim, there was a picture of an ox. Like the verse refers to, it refers to Joseph and to his sons as an ox. Very interesting. On the flag of Dan, there was a picture of an eagle. And now what we have these 4 different flags with 4 different images on them. A human being, a lion, an ox, and an eagle. And interestingly, Rabbeinu Bachai brings that these 4 images were the 4 images that Ezekiel saw when he had his vision, when he saw the Ma'aseh Merkava, when he saw the vision of the chariot, he saw Hashem's Kisei HaKavod, his divine throne, as it were. When he saw that, so there were angels which he was able to envision, and these angels had different panim, they had different faces or different aspects, different sides. One way you looked at it, you would see a human being. One way you looked at it, you would see a lion. One way you looked at it, you would see an ox. Another way you looked at it, you could see that there was the face of a nesher, of an eagle. In a parallel way, the Jewish people also had these 4 different aspects, which obviously we need to understand what they are, but these 4 different aspects were represented on the flags, which represented each of the 4 different groups of Shvatim, of tribes. So in this first explanation of the Rabbeinu Bachai, we see that the flags, what is the idea of these flags? What is the concept? Somehow we see that the Jewish people correspond to this angel figure, which is in the highest heavens that surrounds God's throne, as Ezekiel saw. We need to understand what is the idea of this. What is the concept of the fact that the Jewish people are compared to angels who have these four different aspects, these four different figures that appear on their flags? So now I'd like to share with you the next section, also the Rabbeinu Bachai, which gives us another twist or another angle on this concept. Another way of explaining the concept of signs. The word ois can also be read avas, which means the desire of the soul. The people of Israel, they saw someone else. They saw another group that had these flags, and they also had a desire to have these flags. They saw, when they saw Kodesh Baruch Hu Kiviyach, when they saw God come down at Mount Sinai and reveal himself and say the Ten Commandments to them, they saw with their own eyes how Hashem was surrounded by the Malachei Hasharis, by the angels. And these angels also had flags. And so the Jewish people desired, just like the angels have flags, we also want flags. So again, we need to understand, what is the concept of flags? What is the idea of flags? What does it mean that the Malachei Hasharis, the heavenly angels, have flags? What are these flags? What do they represent? And why is it that the Jewish people desire also to have these flags? What does a flag do for the particular group of Shvatim, the particular group of tribes? What is its spiritual essence? And what can we learn from this and use as a tool in our own lives, perhaps? Before we start to answer these questions, I want to share with you one more medrash which the Rabbeinu Bachai brings. He says like this, Ishal diglei ba'oises. What does it mean that each one was by his flag with signs? Ba'oises shemasar lehen avian. It was actually with the signs that were given over to them by their father. Who's their father? Kishenifter Yaakov Avinu. When Jacob passed away, Tziva lebanov. So right before he passed away, he gave a command to his sons, Shelo yigu b'mitasei echa min hamitzrayim, that no Egyptian should touch his casket. And none of his grandchildren, they shouldn't be involved in carrying his coffin back up to the land of Israel. There were those of his grandchildren who had indeed married from the girls of Canaan. This is what it says. The sons of Jacob did as they were commanded. His sons carried him back up to the land of Canaan. His sons did it, and not his grandsons. Amar lahen. He said to them as follows, Yehuda v'Yisachar Zvulun, Judah and Yisachar and Zvulun, Yisu min HaMizrach, they're going to carry the coffin on the eastern side. Reuven v'Shimon v'Gad, these three sons, Yitanu min Ador, and they're going to carry me from the south. Ephraim and Menashe Binyamin min Amarav, these three are going to carry me from the west. Dan Vash v'Naftali min Atzafa, and these three are going to carry me from the north. Yosef al Yitain mibnei Shu Melech, Joseph will not carry me because he is a king. Levi al Yitain, Levi shall not carry me. In the future, he's going to be the one, his grandchildren are going to be the ones who carry the holy ark of Hashem. The ones who are going to carry the ark of the one who lives forever. It's not correct for them to carry the coffin of someone who's dead. And Yaakov told him, Jacob said to them, if you carry my coffin as I command you, in the future, in the merit of what you've done now, Hashem is going to place His divine presence amongst you, and He's going to do it in such a way that you have these flags, and you're situated around the divine presence which is in the center in the Mishkan. Now, Moses, when Hashem spoke to him, Moshe and said to him, I want you to set up the Jewish people in this way, he was worried that there shouldn't be an argument between the tribes, Miba Mizrach, Miba Marav, who's in the east, who's in the west. Everybody knew that there were certain spots that were more significant, that had different significances. Amalai Kodesh Baruch Hu, Hashem said, don't worry. You don't have to be concerned about this. They already received the Masorah tradition from their great-grandfather, from Jacob, as to how they are to set up, as to how they are to be located around when they're in a formation. And so you don't have to be worried that there's going to be jealousy, that people are going to want to be in a different spot than you're going to assign them. I'm going to assign them in exactly the same way that Jacob assigned them when they brought his coffin up to Eretz Yisrael, to the land of Israel, to be buried. Now there are a few questions that we can ask on this medrash, and from the questions we'll see that there's an amazing idea that this medrash is saying and that all the midrashim that we've been quoting are saying. First question is, why was it so important to Yaakov Avinu, to Jacob, that only his sons carry him? Why couldn't his grandsons? So what? So they had married someone who was not from the clan of the Jewish people. But what was the big deal? Why couldn't any Egyptians carry him? It was only specifically his 12 sons. What's the significance of that? Also, what needs understanding is that we see that the Medrash is clearly creating a parallel between the carrying the coffin of Jacob and the Jewish people encamping around the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and moving in that formation as well throughout their sojourn in the wilderness, those 40 years. What is the idea? How is there a parallel between Jacob's coffin and the Shechina, lahavdil, that we see that there's this formation that's happening in both cases? What's the idea here? Also, the fact that Moshe was concerned that there would be machlokas, there would be arguments about who's going to be in which spot. And don't worry about it, Hashem says, because they already have a tradition as to how they're supposed to be set up. It's something that they received from Yaakov Avinu, from Jacob. What is the idea that they received it from Jacob? How is it that it's going to help them that they shouldn't have any arguments now in this formation around the Shekhinah, around the divine presence in the Midbar, in the wilderness? So to begin to understand what's going on here, we need to look at the Ophanim. We need to look at those angels that Ezekiel saw when he had his vision of the Merkava, of the divine presence, the Kisei HaKavod, God's holy throne, which he sits upon in order to interact with the world, so to speak. We see that these Ophanim, these angels, had 4 different faces. They looked like 4 different things. They looked like an aryeh, they looked like a lion. Lion is the king of the beasts, king of the wild animals. One side looked like an ox. The ox is the king of the domesticated animals. On one side he looked like a nesher, like an eagle. The eagle is the king of the flying animals. And on another side he looked like the Adam, the human being, who is the king over them all. Now we need to understand what is the concept of the king, what is the concept of these 4 different faces. But what we see immediately is that you have one being, one angel, which really is a manifestation. An angel is always just a glove, or an extension of Hashem, as it were. How Hashem manifests in the world, he sends these little angels, these little worker bees, we could call them, that are the ones who manifest in this world, that we see Hashem is working in this world through them. But when we say that they have 4 different faces, that have these 4 different aspects, what we're really saying is that you have one being, you have one spiritual being, which has 4 different ways of being seen in the world, 4 different ways of manifesting. Said in another way, I, Ari Goldwag, I have many different ways that I appear in the world, so to speak. Some people know me as a singer. Some people see me as a teacher. Other people see me as a father. My children see me as a father. To my wife, I'm a husband. But I have different faces, I have different aspects. They're all part of one person. They're all part of Ari Goldwag. They're all part of who I am. But depending on how you look at me, depending on your relationship with me, you will see a different face, as it were. So the Ophan, the Chaya, these angels have all these different faces. Truly they're one being, but they manifest in different ways. And Hashem also is one being. He's the ultimate one being that includes all the different aspects in the ultimate unity, where there is no separation, where there is nothing, there's no differentiation. Only Hashem, it's all one. We don't understand this concept. But Hashem manifests and appears to us with many different faces. Hashem is our Father. Hashem is also our King. Hashem is the one who does chesed, he does kindness, but Hashem is also the one who does gevura. Sometimes he withholds kindness. Hashem does many different things in the world. Hashem manifests through all of the different things that we see in the world. So Hashem has many faces, so to speak. Hashem has many different ways that he appears to us. But Hashem is one. There is one being, and that's God, who's behind all of them, behind all of these different aspects, behind all of these different activities that we perceive in the world. Now when Hashem comes down on Har Sinai, on Mount Sinai, he's about to reveal himself to the world, reveal himself to the Jewish people, to give those 10 commandments. He's accompanied by 22,000 angels. And these angels, as the Rabbeinu Bachai gets into at length, and we won't, these angels are also encamped into 4 encampments on all 4 sides, as it were, of God's revelation of His divine presence. And they each have flags. And the Jewish people see those flags and they want flags as well. What is the idea of a flag? A flag represents my unique contribution. Each country has a flag. The Jewish state has a flag. It has a blue star and it has 2 lines, which remind the Jewish people of their unique purpose in the world. Do you know that the Israeli flag, originally they placed tzitzis on the 4 corners of it, and the tzitzis clearly represent our unique purpose, bringing down. The tzitzis are the things that we look at. The word tzitzis means to look, to take a look. So things that we look at that remind us of the heavens. The blue is the heavens, reminds us of our purpose in the world, which is to serve Hashem, to reflect the heavenly abode into this world. So the flag of a nation, and the flag of an angel, and the flag of a tribe represents their unique purpose, their unique gavan, their unique color that they bring into the world, their unique manifestation of Hashem in the world. That flag is raised up high because it's sometimes so easy to forget, what is my purpose? Maybe I can confuse my purpose with someone else's purpose. Hey, what's he doing in the East? I want to be in the East. Whatever the East represents, I want to be doing that way. I want to manifest Hashem in that way. The degel, the flag, reminds that group, what is their purpose? What is their place? You are in the East. You are in the West. You are in the South. You are in the North. Each of these different locations represent really a different aspect, a different view, something different that we bring into the world, that we manifest Hashem in the world. And Yaakov Avinu, Jacob, is the one who, when he gave the blessings to his children, he was telling them, what is your spiritual ability? What is your ability, Yehuda, Judah? You are like a lion. Just like a lion is the king of the beasts. He reminds all the animals how they are to serve Hashem, how they are to manifest godliness in the world, so to speak. All of the wild animals are led by that lion. Yehuda also is the leader. He's the one who stands up. He's the degel. A leader is just like a flag. He's the one who, because he has such a strong manifestation of the aspect which his group, who he is leading, is indeed supposed to bring into the world, he's the one, he serves as a flag, a reminder of who they are supposed to be. Ephraim, on his flag there was an ox, which represents the one who is the leader, the king of the domesticated animals, and their version of serving Hashem and manifesting Hashem in the world. Everything, every single animal in the world, everything is here to serve Hashem, to manifest Hashem in the world. And by the way, and this is a Maimar Muskar, this is a parenthetical statement, but that's why Adam HaRishon, when he first comes into the world, the first thing that he does is he names all the animals. He's giving them their essential purpose. The name speaks of the essential purpose of that particular animal. And now he is to manifest, that particular animal is to manifest Hashem in the world. So when we look at the last questions that we asked, the last group of questions, why was it that Yaakov only wanted somebody who was his sons, not his grandsons, no Egyptians? It was specifically those who were outstanding, those who were the degel, those who were the flags, who truly represented a full manifestation of Hashem's will. Egyptians, they didn't have that yet. They hadn't learned enough from the Jewish people. The grandsons, some of them had married Canaanite women, so they weren't fully manifesting that which was supposed to be for the Jewish people in this world at that time. He wanted specifically those who were the degalim, those who were the flags, those who were outstanding, who would in the future represent the Jewish people and also represent, it's not a coincidence, who would represent Hashem in the world. The divine presence was surrounded on these 4 sides by these 4 different formations, 4 different aspects of the Jewish people. Each one of them represented another way that Hashem manifests in the world, just like that Ophan, just like that angel, which also represented how Hashem manifests in the world, depending on the angle, depending on the side that you look at it from. The Jewish people saw the malachim, saw the angels, that they had these flags. They knew what their purpose was. They were constantly being reminded of who they were and how they were supposed to manifest Hashem in the world, what their special job was. The Jewish people saw that. They said, I want that too. At Mount Sinai, when that revelation was coming down, and they realized that they were the chosen people who was going to manifest Hashem in the world, they said, we need this reminder. We need this flag. We need leaders who are going to represent that they completely serve Hashem. They completely manifest Hashem in the world. Their their job in the world is to manifest Hashem and to serve Hashem and to bring that aspect which they have, that special aspect which they bring, that they're to bring it down indeed into the world. We'd like to have that too. And it's clear that the message of this medrash, of this Rabbeinu Bachai, of the idea that we're talking about here, is that each one of us has an opportunity to grab onto a degel, onto a flag. We're not all the same. We're not meant to all be the same. We're each supposed to serve Hashem in our own unique way. We're each supposed to manifest Hashem in the world according to the flag that we gravitate to. We need to find those leaders. We need to find those people, those individuals and groups that help us to accomplish our goal of serving Hashem to the best of each of our unique abilities. We need to see those who have their flags raised and recognize that I don't need to per se raise that same flag, but I also need to raise my flag. I need to find the flag that represents my service of Hashem. I need to hold on to that and indeed continue to be in that formation around the Shekhinah, be somebody who manifests Hashem's Shekhinah, manifests Hashem's divine presence in the world. Now, I told you at the beginning that I'm going to share with you about my book. Like I said, this book has been completed. It's in the very, very final stages, and with God's help, it's going to be coming out very soon. And this book, for me, represents a different flag. People know me as a singer. People know that I've put out beautiful music that really has inspired many people. And I also have an opportunity, just like I've been giving the Divrei Torah, in 6 weeks, it's going to be 9 years that I've been putting out every single week Dvar Torah on the parsha. And it's something that I continue to do. I don't get paid for it, but I do know that there are many people that are listening to it, hundreds of people listening to it. And it's something that I do because this is how I raise my flag. And putting out a sefer is another way that I can raise my flag and help others to raise their flag as well. Now, if you're listening and you've gotten this far, it could be that you are somebody who sees that my flag is something that you relate to. You relate to the raising of the flag that I am doing, I have been doing. And I ask you to join with me. I need to raise $10,000 in order to print the book, to have them shipped to the places that they need to get to. It's a book that's going to be distributed by Feldheim, and my publishing imprint is Mosaica. This is an opportunity to help me, to help you, to help others, to be able to spread this Torah, this idea, the concepts which I teach here, which are about personal growth and serving Hashem and manifesting Hashem in the world. I invite you to donate $5, $100, $1,000, $5,000, whatever you want, whatever makes sense for you. But take part. You can go to my website, www.arigoldwag.com. Brand new website which has come out recently. Go to the contact page. On the top of the contact page is a donate button. And you can write, when you donate that money, you can write that it's for Ari's Torah book. I also use that button for other things, so I'd like it to be clear what it's for. And I really appreciate all those who have already donated. I've already, Baruch Hashem, since I started this campaign, I've already collected about $350. So I want to thank those who have already donated. And I want to thank you for listening, and I want to thank you for being involved and considering taking part in donating and helping me to put out this book. Hashem should bless you, and Hashem should bless me, all of us, that we should be zeicha, we should merit to raise up our flag, to manifest Hashem in the world, and inspire others to manifest Hashem in the world as well. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful Shabbos. This podcast was made possible through the gracious donations of listeners like you. For more podcasts like this, please visit www.arigoldwag.com or search on iTunes Ari Goldwag.